1,000 ways to sell sample packs or sound kits or loops. Y'all gotta quit clicking on videos like this. There's 3, and that's what we're gonna cover today. All right, so the most popular topic of discussion when I'm talking to producers is generally, how do I wanna sell loops, I wanna sell sample packs and sound kits and generate all this residual income and all of that good stuff. And I don't wanna rain on your parade, but I feel like there has to be some real shit here on YouTube to just explain all the pros and cons of everything so that you know how to navigate this correctly. Because the reality is that, most people, 9 out of 10 that try to go sell sample packs fall on their butt and nothing happens because they just really weren't prepared. They didn't understand the business. So that's what we're going to fix for you in this video and show you the 3 ways that we sell sample packs, the pros, cons to each way, all of that stuff. Listen, I'm big on, of course, diversifying your income as a producer. Producer development is what I do for a living, so that concept is no stranger to me. With that said, the caveat is that sequence is important, okay? Sequence is the order of which you do things. So a lot of people try to start with sample packs or start with other things, and it's a difficult way to start. You can do all these things you want to do. Work with clients, sell beats, do sync stuff, sell loops and kits, education, whatever you want to do, but you can't do them all at once. And the sequence of which you do them is important when starting, especially when starting a business. Now, if you already have an established business, you're making money, you have an audience, you want to launch a product, cool. Then you're going to get something slightly different out of this video. Also, let's talk. But most people are building their business. And whenever you're doing that, start with the most expensive thing that you offer. It's usually a service. You're going to be working with a client directly, an artist directly. They're paying you for your time or for your project. Start there. Everyone thinks that the cheaper something is, the easier it is to sell. It's not true. It's not true at all. The bigger the problem something solves makes it easier to sell. And as you're going out and connecting people and networking, it's the same amount of work to do all that to get a client or to sell a $20 sample pack or something, okay? It's gonna be the same amount of work in the beginning, so you might as well go with the expensive stuff. That way you're stacking cash while you're building your audience and you're growing. Then later you can deploy some of that money, use your audience to sell other offers, products, cool things that you put together. So that's my little caveat. Half the people probably ignore that, but that's fine. Let's dive into this. You're feisty, I like it. The number, or not the number 1 way, but just the first way we're going to talk about is paid, using paid marketing to sell sample packs and loops and stuff. The second one's going to be organic, and the third is going to be partner. And I'm going to try to go through this. I usually don't talk this fast, but we're on YouTube, baby, so we got to fucking speed things up. We got short attention spans here, all right? So let's talk about paid first. Now this one's obvious, right? You're paying for traffic. You're paying to get people to come and buy the product, okay? And here's the biggest mistake people make with this. They go out, they create an ad. That ad pushes people to buy the sample pack or whatever it is. But what they find a lot of times is that it costs more to get the conversion, to get someone to buy the thing through an ad. It costs more in ad spend than the product cost itself, especially with something that's lower priced. Generally, it's not a hard, fast rule. There's been companies that charge a lot for sample packs, but your average is, they're usually under $100, right? So if it costs, let's say you have a $30 product, but it costs you $50 in ad spend to sell a $30 product, well, then you're burning cash, right? You're losing money. Now, this is what you can do, and I'll have a whole nother video on this because there's a lot to this, but what smart companies do, or producers that really make money on packs and stuff, you've probably seen this done with the MIDI pack guys, the Unreal MIDI pack. Oh, that's cold. This is the one. That's the one. Yeah, baby. Those guys, I'm ripping on them a little bit, but they're really smart when it comes to marketing. What's happening with those guys is they know that the initial product itself, that first MIDI pack's probably just gonna cover the cost of getting the person to buy it. Maybe not even cover the whole cost. But then there's a percentage of those people that then buy upsells, like a bigger version of the product, other products bundled together. Maybe there's a service on the back end. Maybe there's something else. And a small percentage are going to buy that, and that's where the profit comes from. So if you're just doing this part, which is what most people are out trying to do, a lot of times they're just out losing money, and maybe you've experienced that. It's because to truly dial in paid advertising for a small, small ticket, lower cost product, it's tough to do. You got to be good at this shit to really do it. So that's why I recommend, get good at get good at marketing and stuff as you grow. Trying to dive right into this, unless you have some help and a winning product, you're probably going to burn through your money. So not to discourage you, but I just want to, if you go out and you've tried ads and you wonder why they didn't work or cost so much, part of it could be the product, of course, but the other part is, this stuff is a little bit of a science. But let's talk about the next one, which is organic. Organic is anything that isn't paid, okay? So let's say maybe you have a big IG following, or maybe you have a YouTube channel with a bunch of subscribers like I don't, or maybe you have a mailing list and you're essentially pushing the product to an audience that already follows you and hopefully likes you and is engaged and digs what you do. The pros to this is that it doesn't cost you any money to acquire the sale. The audience is there, they like your stuff, they buy it. One of my buddies and clients and kids I worked with forever, a kid named Austin Hull with a channel called Make Pop Music on YouTube, 100,000 subscribers. He grew, didn't happen overnight, but he grew that, and so many people know he exists. People are coming into his world every day. It pushes them to sample packs and courses and other stuff he does, and he doesn't really have to pay for that. He doesn't run ads. He could run ads, but he doesn't have to if he doesn't want to, because he has an audience there to buy it. Now, I know what you're thinking. I think the same thing very often. I don't have a huge audience to buy this stuff. Exactly. Now, building an audience is difficult but necessary, and networking is just necessary in this industry, right? You hear that from everybody. So you're not going to be able to hack it. You're going to have to go out and really build a real audience, just like the artists you work with have to do. That's why I say start with your most expensive thing, because I don't have a huge audience or a lot of followers. I teach business stuff. It's usually boring. It's usually for a pretty high level producer. It's not a mass market thing, but that's okay, because of my the services that we do are more on the high end. We don't need that many people to buy them. Later on down the road, if we have a bunch more followers, maybe then we'll start launching some other products and stuff. But for now, as you build your audience and your network of people that that's why you want to start with the most expensive thing, because you'll be able to actually build a foundation for yourself. The small, cheap stuff, that's got to kind of come later in my opinion. But again, pros is that it doesn't cost you anything because the audience is already there and they like you and love you and want to buy cool things that you're creating. I'll have another video on products and stuff too, because another thing I see people do is you can't just phone it in with these products. You have to make cool stuff. Like all the stuff I'm talking about now, it's not going to matter if the product isn't good. So the last one here is partnerships, okay? And there's a couple of different ones. I've talked a lot about affiliate stuff in other videos I put out. I don't know if I'm spelling that right. #public school. And then there's platforms. So affiliates is someone else has the audience, you have the product, they sell the product to their audience, and you give them a commission. 50-50 is usually kind of standard split in our industry, unless it's something like pretty expensive. So this is great because they're doing all the work, they built the audience, and they're promoting the product. You sit back, collect the money. It's also great to bring people into your world, right? Because when they're buying the product, their audience is buying the product from you. Well, now they're on your email list. Now they're in your world. Now they're your client or customer. So it's great. That's the upside. Very leveraged. When I bought a sample pack company about 6 years ago, we were fortunate because what we were really buying, it had a great product line, but what we were really buying was the affiliate connections and those relationships, which I still have to this day. So it helps if I ever want to launch anything, I can go to those guys and say, hey, do you want to do a joint venture on this? So that's the first way. The downside, obviously, you have to meet, you have to know these people, right? Reach out and meet them. You can look for big Instagram accounts and YouTube channels and stuff like that. Anything that's parallel with your audience, you know, like that would share the market, but maybe doesn't have a competing product. Like maybe this guy sells courses, you sell sample packs. His market would like your stuff, but it doesn't compete with this stuff. Things like that, situations like that. Now there are these big Instagram channels or accounts rather that are memes and rate the studio and stuff. Those can have a lot of numbers, but you'll want to really make sure, like, ask them if they've ever sold anything to their audience. Just because you have a lot of numbers, if they're not used to buying stuff from that person or that entity or that account, then it may be a little tough if they just out of the blue try to sell your product. Just because they have a lot of numbers doesn't mean it's going to sell a lot. Just keep that in mind. The second is platforms, you know, things like Splice, right? And generally how that works is, you know, there's a payment up front and then sometimes a royalty. A lot of times they're going to try to buy it out up front so they don't have to pay a royalty. It's easier for them to keep up, and they have a ton of investor cash, so they can just buy up a bunch of stuff, a bunch of assets that they can continue to monetize long term. Downside, of course, of doing that is, you know, you don't get the royalties on it. It doesn't become a residual asset for you, a residual income stream for you. It's just a one-off. But you can do a mix. You know, I've talked to people that have done various deals with them where maybe it's lower on the front end or nothing on the front end and, you know, something on the back end. They may have changed it since the last time I've, you know, heard about scenarios working with them. Who knows? But that's generally how they work. Again, upside to that is that, you know, they're doing all the work. They have the audience, the store, all of that stuff. The downside is that, you know, you have less control and it may not be a deal that works for you long term. So those are the three ways: paid, organic, and partnership style. That's how we sell sample packs and loot packs and MIDI packs and all that kind of stuff. So again, just know that if you're just starting your business, this is advanced stuff in my opinion. I would say what's the most expensive thing I can do? Is it mix? Is it write songs for people, produce tracks, you know, do full production for people? Go find someone to pay you for that. That's how you're going to build it up, because you got to build the audience anyway, so you might as well be, you know, working with people and doing that, stacking some cash, and later you can deploy it on some projects like this. So that's some real talk. Hope that helps, and we'll see you in the next video.